Hello and welcome to the show. This is Everything Under the Sun. My name is Ty. Hope you and your loved ones are doing the best you can to take care of yourselves out there. I want to start this off by saying that there's a lot that I speak about in this podcast that can be very heavy and can be very difficult for people to kind of try to integrate into their lives or integrate into their mental space, and that's okay. I had a conversation with some friends over this past weekend, and a comment that came out was, sometimes it's harder than that, or sometimes it's there are other things to consider. I forgot what my friend had mentioned because we were having a conversation. And I'd mentioned something, and it was like that was a comment that came out. Like there are other circumstances that life brings, and it made it apparent to me that maybe I come off in a way of saying things, and it seems as though I'm dismissing the fact that life is very different for every individual. And I try to reiterate this in every episode, just, every situation is different, every person is different, no one understands exactly what you're going through. And I want that to be a constant theme and a constant knowing throughout all of the conversations that are had. You are living in your own life, and what we have to do is to get through the day the best we know how to. And the things that I'm bringing up, they're things that we have to confront. They're things that we have to kind of process and understand within ourselves for us to live as free as we can. But I don't want to make it seem like I'm dismissing all the struggles and all the difficulties that may block us from having that time with ourselves to reflect on those things. Do what you can to be okay right now in this situation. And when you get the chance, that's when I'm asking you to, find these ways of better understanding yourself, because that's what this is all about. These are all just things of better understanding yourself. When you let go of things that you're holding on to, you better understand yourself. When you move towards the things that you're passionate for, you better understand yourself. When you look towards those shadows and the dark spaces within your mind, you're getting to know yourself more. So I understand that life brings us challenges that may keep us from giving that attention to ourselves, because we have to give attention to what's right in front of us. All I'm asking is to, I'm just bringing this awareness. And I know that there are things that come out that I say, but words come out so much easier than the process itself. So always know that, I'm not saying, it can seem like it's easier said than done, but I know that it's a process. And I know that it can be difficult. So go at your own pace and never feel like I'm judging you. I mean, well, if you feel like I'm judging you, I apologize for that, but I promise you I'm not. Everyone is living their life and challenged with the things that they're challenged with, and there's no room for anyone to judge that. So I never want to come off as, judging you for living life in the way that you're living it, but, just there are essences within us that can bring us so much joy in understanding them, because they cause us so much hardship and pain in our lives. So that's really what I wanted to get at with that, and kind of just start off with that, because, there are deep subjects and heavy subjects that are spoken about in this podcast, and I never want them to be dismissive of what you're feeling in any kind of way. So aside from that, I'm going to change the subject up, but I just wanted to make that clear. But aside from that, SNL, I'm not sure if any of you watched that or knew Elon Musk was on SNL this past weekend. I mean, it's been on the news everywhere, but something I want to bring up, it's not about Dogecoin or anything like that, but it's about the beginning when he spoke about him being the first host that has Asperger's. And I think that's something so amazing. I'm seeing more and more people that have celebrity status speak about these things that are somewhat like not really seen in society. It's not really seen in the spotlight. We see this idealism of perfection, or, lack of mistakes or anything like that, or just the embodiment of what we feel like we have to be as humans, and that's not truth. Like, we are diverse and we are amazing and beautiful, and I think that as more celebrities and people in that light start to showcase themselves in the ways that they identify, it can make other people feel like they're able to identify as well. So I think that that's definitely a big move, because, I don't know how many people with Asperger's may have felt as though they couldn't attain that success, or they couldn't do those things because they haven't seen anyone like them in that spotlight. And I love just the encouragement that signal can bring to so many people that are just dealing with challenges that they feel like they won't be able to accomplish their dreams because they are dealing with that. And at the end of the day, it's like, you can do anything that you want, and sometimes it takes that encouraging icon to kind of be there and speak about that. So I'm not sure anything about what else happened in the SNL. I just saw like that introduction. I thought that was really amazing. So that's progress. We're all moving towards progress and diversification of what it means to be human, and I think that's really amazing. So with this, I'm going to get going with this topic and kind of go with this box. If you have any ideas or thoughts or anything that you like to send in, you can send those to everything.sunpodcast@gmail.com. I love every single one of these topics, and I mean, honestly, like every time I pick a topic and kind of think about it, it racks my mind for weeks because I'm always thinking about just, well, not weeks, but it racks my mind for like that week because I'm thinking like, what is this going to be? What does it mean for me? And that's really the biggest thing with a lot of these topics is like, what does it mean on a human level? Like the levels that we have to deal with, and it gets me to think about that. So I'm going to stop rambling. Today, the topic that is pulled out is going to be emotions. So I think that that's actually a really amazing topic because it's kind of at the root of everything that we speak about here. We all go through experiences, we all have dreams and aspirations and goals and people that have hurt us and things like that. And all of it is going into kind of this emotional human experience that we're having. What does it all mean? We react from emotion, we move towards emotion, we blind ourselves from logical thought because of emotion. And it's something that's so big and powerful within our lives. So I think that's going to be an amazing topic, emotions. Thank you again for sending this in. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that discussion. So today is the topic of aging. And, I think that this is a really interesting topic because it's something that we're all dealing with, in some kind of way, we're all dealing with it. And I think that there's so much to this idea of aging, and I can't really go into too much of what I want to go into it, but I'm gonna kind of hint on it at the end of it. And but there are some major factors like within this idea of aging that I think is really important to kind of look at and question, because as we start questioning those things, I think we can again start having more understanding and more control over maybe what that means for us. And even if the understanding is just more meaning in what this process is, that can be something that can help us as we go through it. So, with this idea of aging, I wanted to break it down to two different categories, and that being age and aging. Because, I feel like they're two very different things, and as we separate them, we can start to see them as these different entities and maybe utilize them in different ways or think about them in different ways. So age is this thing where it's literally the numeric value for how long we've been on this earth. And I think that's something so interesting because we have sayings like age is just a number. And that can be whether it's like a love situation, maybe people fall in love of different age groups, or maybe just a maturity based kind of situation. Because there are people that we've met, maybe like children, that you're like, wow, like that kid is wise beyond their years. And then maybe we meet an adult, like a full grown, full adult, and like saying to them, like, you need to grow up. Maybe they're like 50, 60 years old and like they're doing something that a teenager would normally do. You're like, wow, you need to grow up, dude. Like, that's something that maybe people will see within that kind of idea. So we see that age is really just a number because everything else outside of that is just maturity, like within that age bracket, as far as just, what a person with that certain age should have, knowledge or wisdom wise. But again, even that, it comes down to that idea of age just being a number because those things may be correlated with one another. Like as we see people increase in age, we see an increase in knowledge and wisdom and understanding, but those aren't necessarily things that go hand in hand. And along with that is this idea of aging, physical aging. And that's where the biggest idea of this age and aging comes in because it's something that impacts our lives and the things that we do, the things that we aspire towards. It's it's kind of incredible how much we limit ourselves based on our age. And I mean that in the domain or in the sense of limiting our goals or our dreams or our aspirations because of our increasing age or physical aging. So, as I mentioned with age and knowledge, those two may be correlated with one another, meaning that as one goes up, the other one's seen to go up. Those aren't necessarily things that cause one another. So, an increase in age doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have more knowledge or wisdom. The same thing is said for age and aging. Just because we see a correlation of increase in age means that we start seeing more physical signs of aging. It doesn't mean that those cause one another. And I'm going to talk more about this in a minute, but something that we can just instantly think of are maybe celebrities or nutritionists or people that kind of are valued or epitomized for being in these older age brackets, but looking decades younger. And the attention that that gets, as far as just epitomizing them for having this youthfulness or vitality at that age, is something that is very telling for just us as a society and what we value in a way. And the biggest thing I want to bring up with this idea of aging is that, it's really kind of crazy, this idea of aging. I think that science hasn't necessarily figured out the reason why our body starts reacting in this way, but the human body is really, really quite amazing because it does its job, which is to heal itself, to reproduce more cells, to help to promote growth and the longevity of our lives. So as you're an infant, like every cell in your body, this was also in the conversation that I had with my friends, every cell in your body contains DNA, your DNA, and your DNA has the information for every other cell in your body to do what it needs to do. So essentially, when you're an infant, all the cells in your body are constantly reproducing and moving to help to grow your bones, help to grow your skin, help to, make things elastic and movable and mobile and to grow efficiently in the way that it's supposed to. Every cell in your body has information to create your entire body, but they're assigned to do certain jobs. Like your cells are assigned to do certain jobs. And trying not to go big into like a science podcast here, but essentially they keep doing their job until a certain point. And that's really the craziest thing about aging is that our body and the cells, they do their job, they keep reproducing, they keep our skin elastic, they keep our joints, lubricated and mobile and doing all these different things for us. And then for some reason they just stop doing that. Slowly and slowly, your cells stop producing as much, they stop working as efficiently, they stop producing as much, they stop healing your body as fast. And science hasn't really figured out why this happens because it seems like our body is meant to continue to thrive and reproduce and continue to heal itself. Yet there's this moment of decline that it just starts to stop doing that. And as a result, what we see are physical signs of aging. Your skin starts to become less vibrant, your bones become more fragile, and that's just because your cells are doing less work to revitalize those areas or to replenish those areas of your body. So although scientists haven't exactly figured out the exact reason why cells stop functioning the way that they were before, they have identified certain ways of our habits and things that we do that impact our physical age. And something I want to just pinpoint now because I've been speaking about a lot of aging, but this is just the concept of aging as we understand it now. But what I want to get at is something so much further and so much deeper than that because it's so unfortunate, but our lives, we seem to revolve around our age and even our physical appearance of age. We limit ourselves in so many parts of our lives or rush ourselves to feel as though we're running out of time. I mentioned this before in the episode about time, I think, where, there's this feeling of running out of time, but what is that feeling coming from? And I think a lot of it is coming from this idea of doing it before it's too late or doing it before you're not able to. And we've created this idea of just, the older that you get, the less mobility, the less ability you have to do stuff. And that's not necessarily the case at all. And it's so unfortunate how we limit ourselves to do things where it's like maybe people are afraid to go back to school or learn a new vocation or do something that they're passionate about because they feel like there's too much time that have passed. Maybe they feel like they're too old for it. Or, I think that there's so many limitations that's around age that needs to be dismissed in order for people to live their best lives and live as free as they can. So as I mentioned these ideas of aging or the causes of aging, I'm just mentioning them in the way that we understand them and maybe in some ways to, be for us to be more mindful of that. If that's something that is worrisome for you or something that you feel is out of your control, know that there are things that we do have in our control that can aid in that process. Removing yourself from stress as much as possible, because stress is something that is so critical and detrimental for our body. I'm not sure if you've seen those side by sides of like the president in their first term versus their last term, and just the radical aging that happens within that 4 years. That's for the U.S. president, and it's something that's insane. But that just shows you how much stress can impact just our body in a negative way. Drugs and alcohol is another huge thing. Now don't get me wrong, and something I want to say again is that I don't want to make you feel like you're being judged for any way that you live your life. That's not the point of what I'm getting at here. It's this idea of aging and the factors that go into it, the things that contribute to it. drugs and alcohol are something that contribute to those physical signs of aging. It leaches from your body. Now, I drink alcohol. I don't drink as much as I did before, but I can't say that I'm not someone that does drink. And with that, it's something for me to take into consideration now. I've seen those side by sides. I love watching those side by side pictures or slideshows of just people that are in different parts of life that are impacted by different things. I know that's so vague in that understanding, but the one I'm speaking about with this drugs and alcohol is a study with twins where it's like, one twin has substance abuse and the other one doesn't. And you can see the physical signs of aging that takes place within that dynamic. Something else that's so critical, and this is something that you can look up and you can find out for yourself, but nutrition, the stuff that we put into our body, the fuel that we put into our body, is so critical for the functionality of our body. Our cells and our organs, they work by utilizing the nutrition that we put into our body. So it makes sense that having a diet that is providing you those nutrients in an efficient way is going to be a better way for you to maintain your body. I follow many people on social media that are vegan, plant-based, because I'm vegan, and many of their livelihoods are very outgoing. Like they have a vitality to them, they have a life to them, and a lot of them attribute that to their diet. Maybe they had some health benefits, or maybe they had just things going on in their life and they changed their diet and it radically changed their body inside and out. There's this woman, Chef Babbitt. She's 81 years old, and she doesn't look like she's outside of her 40s. She's been vegan. She has a vegan restaurant down in LA, and I think that, there is just so much that goes into nutrition that impacts our body in different ways. And again, these are all just ways in which we can take care of our bodies. And again, I never want this to come off as me attacking anyone for the lives that they live or what they choose to do for themselves or with themselves. This is more or less just literally within this topic, within this idea, within the subject of aging and the different ways that we understand aging as of this moment, as far as just physical aging. But the biggest thing that I want to get at with this whole idea of aging is back to that idea of those limiting beliefs that we start to have as we start to grow older. As our numeric age increases and as our physical aging starts to take effect in whatever way that is. We limit our lives in so many different ways, and it's so unfortunate because it doesn't mean that we stop wanting to live our lives. Something I want you to do is just close your eyes. And right now what you're seeing, you're probably just seeing darkness, but right now you're just with yourself. You're with your mind. The place where your thoughts and your feelings are coming from, the place where your personality comes from, the place where the essence of who you are is, where it dwells. And we can remember things as if they happened yesterday. And this is something that is so big because our physical appearance may have changed, the years may have passed, but within the space, in that space when you close your eyes, you can remember things as if they just happened. And within that space, we can also dream of things that we've always dreamed of and hold passions for things that we've always held passions for. We can have goals and we can still have things that we wish to accomplish in our lives, no matter what physically we look like, or no matter how many years have passed. We still hold these dreams, we still hold these aspirations, we still hold these desires. And what happens to those dreams and those desires, they get pushed aside, they get pushed down, because the more and more we allow our age, the number, or the physical appearance to stop us from achieving those, or to feel as though we can't achieve those, then that's where those dreams go. They go into that can't do, too late pile. And that's not true. Anything that we aspire towards wanting for ourselves, if you close your eyes and you still have dreams and you still have passions and you still have goals and you still have love that you want for yourself and in your life, then you are still living. You still have life to live, no matter where you are in life, whether you are 18 or you're 81. As long as you hold those dreams and your passions within yourself, continue to live your life. As we break down this idea of age and aging, we see that it's constantly changing. It's constantly different. It's constantly something else. But within your own mind, you can hold on to dreams and passions and let that be timeless. Let that be boundless. And that is the essence of who we are. That is the essence that we have to listen to. All the stuff around us is constantly changing. We see that from the seasons changing. We see that from, the plants growing and then dying and then, regrowing. We see change constantly happening. But again, within our minds, we have this ability to think of things and reflect on things and feel things right here in this very moment that are just as real as they were any other time in our lives. And that is what we go off of, because that is our true essence. So go off your true essence and live your life. There was a woman that I graduated with in my undergrad, and I didn't even know she was a student. I saw her walking around on campus. She always dressed really nice. An elderly woman, maybe like 71, 72. She always had a rolly backpack suitcase, like kind of like one of those backpack suitcases things. And I always thought she was a professor. And then on graduation day, they call her name and she walks across the stage. 71 years old, just getting her bachelor's degree. And I love that she did that, because I think there are so many people that are afraid to go back to school or do something being in that age group. I met this guy. I actually don't know if it was real life or if I was listening to someone tell a story about this, but there was a guy. I think we had met in person. He was telling me the story, but he was 22 years old. He had gotten out of the military and he wanted to go back to school. And a lot of people were telling him, like, wow, you're going to go back to school, 22 years old, like you're going to be one of the oldest people there. And most people get discouraged, especially after getting out the service, maybe feeling as though they don't want to go back into school for whatever reason. Maybe they feel like they're too old or whatever that may be. But he decided to completely dismiss that and went back to school, got his degree. I think he went on to get his PhD. I actually think I was listening to a talk about a guy that was doing that. But so often we get wrapped up in our minds. We get wrapped up in those things that other people say. Oh, you're too old for that. Oh, it's been too long. Oh, you're really going to start that now? Like those comments that can really start to discourage you or add to the discouragement that you've already felt within yourself. We have to eliminate those things, and we have to remove those things and realize that our true essence, our true self is that passion, is that dream, are those goals that continue to live despite any time that has passed. So live your dreams, live your essence of who you are, and that is who is within you. And I promise you, you can achieve anything that you want to in this life. No matter what walk of life you're in, no matter how long you've been roaming this earth, you are still here, you still dream, you still love, you are still alive. Go live yourself. So that's really all I have with this idea of aging. I think that there is so much. I mean, aging is it's an interesting concept, and I have a lot of personal feelings about that. So what I spoke about here is just what we understand as aging in a very brief way, because we're very intimate with this idea of aging. It's something that we've kind of had to process in some way throughout our lives. But there's so much more to it. And I think as we just stay focused towards that inner guidance that we have, that timelessness, that boundlessness of dreams and passions that continue to live on, I think as we focus on that, we can start seeing these other things, these other physical and external changes as just being that, transitory things. But the true essence of who we are and what we want and who we want to be is timeless. So hold on to that timelessness, find yourself and be with yourself, and know that that's okay to do anything that you want, anytime that you want. It's never too late to live your life. But yeah, that's all I really got for this idea of aging. If you have any thoughts or ideas or anything that you'd like to share, you can send those to everything.sunpodcast@gmail.com, or you can join any of the social media pages: Instagram, everything.sunpodcast, Twitter, @everysunpodcast, or the Facebook group, @everysunpodcast as well. But yeah, that's all I got. I love you all, and I will see you next time.